Sagittarius, the path you thought was closed will suddenly reappear. Sagittarius, life has a way of surprising you just when you've convinced yourself that a door is forever closed. There were dreams you tucked away, convinced that time had passed you by. There were relationships, opportunities, or visions of your future that seemed to slip out of reach, leaving you to believe they were no longer meant for you. Yet the universe has its own rhythm, and sometimes what you thought was lost is not gone at all. It has simply been waiting for the right season to bloom again. This is one of those moments. The path you thought was closed, the chapter you believed was finished, is stirring once more. It may not look the same as it once did. It may come to you in a form that feels both familiar and new, but it carries with it the essence of something your soul has long desired. What seemed blocked was only paused. What seemed final was only an interlude. And now, as the stars align, you are being invited to step forward with courage, knowing that this time you carry the wisdom you once lacked. If this message awakens something within you, stay with me. And if it resonates in your spirit, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe, not as an obligation, but as a way of saying yes to the paths that are quietly re-emerging in your own life. Gate 1. Recognizing the signs of a returning path. Sagittarius, you are a child of horizons. You were born with an arrow in your hand and the sky as your compass, always moving forward, always searching for what lies beyond the bend. Yet even you, with your bold spirit, have faced moments when life closed a door so firmly it seemed final. You told yourself it was over. You tucked the dream away, you buried the desire, and you whispered, "Perhaps it was never meant for me." But the universe has a peculiar way of circling back. Paths you thought had vanished often wait quietly for their season to return. The challenge is not whether they reappear, the challenge is whether you will recognize them when they do. You see, Sagittarius, not every ending is truly an ending. Many are pauses disguised as closures. Life protects you from stepping onto certain paths too early, before you have the strength, clarity, or wisdom to carry them well. Timing is everything. Imagine a seed planted in frozen ground. No matter how desperately it wants to grow, it will not take root. The soil must thaw, the sun must return, and the rain must soften the earth. Only then can the seed push upward. Your dreams work the same way. Some of the paths you thought were blocked were never gone at all. They were seeds beneath the soil, waiting for the season of your readiness. Let me share a story. Years ago, I worked with a Sagittarius man named Marco. He longed to be a writer. Words were his sanctuary, his gift, and his way of understanding the world. Yet when he tried to publish in his 20s, doors slammed in his face. Rejections piled up, his confidence crumbled, and eventually, he told himself the path was closed. He pursued other careers, convinced the dream had died. And yet, 2 decades later, during a period of quiet reflection, he began writing again, this time without the hunger for recognition, but with the wisdom of life lived. To his surprise, the very doors that had once shut now swung open. His stories, shaped by time and experience, resonated deeply with readers. What had once seemed like failure revealed itself as preparation. The path had not disappeared. It had simply waited until Marco was ready to walk it with both strength and humility. Sagittarius, this is how the universe works with you. Because of your fiery restlessness, you sometimes mistake delay for denial. When something doesn't happen immediately, you assume it has been taken away. But Jupiter, your ruling planet, teaches otherwise. Jupiter expands not only possibilities but timing. It reminds you that destiny does not operate on human schedules. What is meant for you will always return, often in a form that surprises you, yet always aligned with the truth of who you have become. Think of your own life. Has there been a dream you buried long ago, yet it still stirs inside you when you are quiet? A career you once longed for, a passion you thought impractical, a relationship you believed was over? Sometimes the reappearance of a path comes as a gentle whisper, an unexpected conversation, a chance encounter, a memory that surfaces without reason. These are not accidents. They are signs. The universe speaks in patterns and synchronicities, nudging you toward doors you assumed were closed. Another Sagittarius woman I once knew, Clara, dreamed of motherhood. For years she tried, but obstacles made the path feel impossible. Doctors told her to let go, and eventually, she convinced herself the door was sealed. She poured her love into other areas of life, but a quiet ache remained. Then years later, when she least expected it, she received news that she was going to adopt a child. The path to motherhood had not returned in the way she imagined, but it returned nonetheless, transformed yet deeply aligned with her soul. The timing was different, but the essence was the same. What she once thought impossible re-emerged, not to torment her with what she lacked, but to fulfill her in a way that honored her journey. Sagittarius, recognizing a returning path requires openness. If you insist that it must look exactly as it once did, you may miss the doorway entirely. Life rarely returns something in its original form. Instead, it refashions it, reshapes it, and offers it back to you in a way that matches who you have become. The relationship may not be with the same person, but it may carry the same soul lesson. The career may not arrive in the same company, but it may awaken the same passion. The dream may not unfold in the same city, but it may call you to the same purpose. Recognition means looking beyond appearances to feel the resonance in your spirit. You may ask, how will I know? How will I recognize that a path has returned? You will know because it will stir something familiar yet new inside you. It will feel like déjà vu but lighter. It will not carry the weight of desperation or the urgency of grasping. Instead, it will feel like alignment. There will be ease, synchronicities, and a quiet inner yes that whispers, "This is your moment." Where once you strained and pushed, now you will simply flow. That is how you recognize the return of a path. It does not demand, it invites. Sagittarius, the path you thought was closed is not only reappearing, it is calling you with greater clarity. Do not dismiss the small nudges. Do not brush aside the coincidences. Do not convince yourself that closed means gone. What is true for your soul will always circle back. Your only task is to remain open enough to see it when it does. The horizon is not only ahead of you, it is around you, circling back, reminding you that destiny has a rhythm of its own. Trust it, watch for it, and when the path appears, have the courage to take the first step, knowing that this time, you are more ready than ever before. Gate 2: Why the path closed before and why it reopens now. Sagittarius, when a door slammed in your face in the past, it felt like rejection. You may have wept in silence, raged at the unfairness, or convinced yourself that the universe was punishing you. But in truth, that closed path was never about rejection. It was about protection. The universe saw something you could not, that the timing was misaligned, that you had not yet become the person who could hold what you desired, or that the circumstances around you were too fragile to support your vision. A closed door is often the greatest act of grace, though it rarely feels that way in the moment. Think back to a time in your life when you wanted something with all your heart. Maybe it was a relationship, a career breakthrough, or a personal dream. You prayed for it, you worked for it, you shaped your life around it. And then, at the final moment, it slipped away. What if it had not? Would you truly have been ready? Would the foundation have been strong enough to hold it? More often than not, we only see the wisdom of delays in hindsight. The door did not close to punish you. It closed to prepare you. Take the story of Jonas, a Sagittarius musician. In his early 20s, he chased a record deal. He came close many times, but every opportunity dissolved at the last minute. He felt crushed, convinced he had wasted his talent. But instead of giving up, Jonas poured himself into refining his craft, playing small shows, and discovering his unique sound. Years later, a new opportunity emerged, this time from a company that valued authenticity over trends. Not only did Jonas finally sign, but his music resonated with audiences in ways it never could have in his early years. The path reopened because he had grown into the artist who could walk it with power. The delay had never been denial, it had been preparation. Sagittarius, your life works in similar patterns. You are ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, growth, and timing. Jupiter does not rush, it magnifies. When it withholds, it does so because what you desire is too important to be handed to a half-formed version of yourself. It waits until you have expanded enough to meet the dream fully. That is why paths reappear, sometimes years after you thought they had died. It is not because the universe changed its mind. It is because you became the version of yourself who can hold the blessing without losing it. But why now? Why does the path reemerge in this season of your life? Because you are no longer who you were. You have walked through heartbreaks, disappointments, betrayals, and challenges that stripped you of illusions. You have gained wisdom, resilience, and discernment. You no longer chase blindly. You choose consciously. You no longer settle for scraps. You claim what resonates with your soul. The universe knows this. It has watched your transformation, and now it whispers, "You are ready." The path that once closed is now reopening, not to the old version of you, but to the you who has grown, expanded, and earned the strength to walk it well. Let me share another story, this one about Maya, a Sagittarius teacher. She once applied for her dream position at a prestigious school, only to be rejected without explanation. She took it as a sign that she wasn't good enough. For years she worked in smaller schools, sometimes doubting her worth. But those years became her training ground. She learned to handle difficult students, navigate complex systems, and develop innovative teaching methods. A decade later, out of nowhere, she received an invitation to apply again, this time for an even higher role. When she stepped into the interview, she realized something profound. Had she received the position years earlier, she would have crumbled under the weight of responsibility. But now she was fully prepared. The very rejection she once cursed had protected her until the right moment. Sagittarius, paths do not close forever. They bend, they circle, they prepare. When they reopen, it is because you are standing in alignment with them. Trust that this season of your life is not random. The delays were not wasted. The struggles were not meaningless. Every step you took in the dark was shaping you for the light you are stepping into now. So when the path reappears, do not hesitate. Do not let old disappointments whisper lies of fear. You are not the same person who once stood before that door. You are stronger. You are wiser. You are ready. The universe is not giving you a second chance, it is giving you the right chance. And this time, Sagittarius, nothing will be able to close it again. Gate 3, trusting the unexpected return. Sagittarius, one of your greatest challenges is patience. You thrive on momentum, on movement, on the rush of the unknown. When a path seems closed, you often throw your arrow toward the next horizon, rather than linger in what feels like disappointment. Yet life, with its divine timing, sometimes circles back to surprise you. A door you thought was locked suddenly swings open, and in that moment, you are asked to trust the unexpected return. The return of a path often comes in disguise. It may not look like what you envisioned years ago. The relationship may not be with the same person, yet it carries the same soul lesson you thought you had lost. The career may not be in the same company, but it awakens the same fire you thought had burned out. The opportunity may not appear in the same form, but it fulfills the dream you once buried. Recognizing it requires trust. Trust in your intuition, trust in divine timing, trust that the universe is not cruelly playing with you but kindly offering you another way forward. I recall the story of Serena, a Sagittarius who dreamed of becoming a dancer. In her youth, an injury ended her chances of performing professionally. Heartbroken, she abandoned the dream and built a new life. But decades later, when her children were grown, she felt called back to movement, not as a performer but as a teacher. She began offering classes in her community, and what she discovered was even more fulfilling than the career she once imagined. Her path had returned, reshaped by time, offering her not only personal joy but the gift of inspiring others. Serena told me, "I thought the door was closed forever, but it was simply waiting for me to grow into the role I was truly meant for." Sagittarius, this is the essence of your journey. The universe rarely returns paths unchanged. It returns them transformed, molded to meet the version of you who has survived storms and gathered wisdom. What once might have broken you now builds you. What once might have consumed you now nourishes you. And in these moments you are asked not to cling to the old image of what you wanted, but to trust the new form it takes. Trusting the unexpected return also means surrendering control. As a fire sign, you crave certainty, the thrill of chasing what you can see ahead. But when the path reappears, it often does so in ways that challenge your logic. It may come through a chance encounter, an invitation you did not seek, or a situation you never considered. Your task is not to analyze every detail but to listen to the quiet yes in your spirit. That yes is the compass that guides you, even when the map is unfamiliar. There is also a healing element to trusting the return. When you embrace a path you once thought was gone, you begin to rewrite the story you told yourself about loss. You realize that nothing true is ever truly lost, it simply transforms. This realization softens the old wounds, dissolves bitterness, and reminds you that the universe has always been conspiring for your good, even when it seemed silent. Another Sagittarius, Tomas, once confided in me about a love he thought he had lost forever. He and his partner had separated in their 20s, believing their lives were taking different directions. For years he told himself the door was closed. Yet 2 decades later, after countless twists of fate, they found each other again. They had both changed, both matured, and this time, their love was deeper, steadier, and wiser. If we had stayed together back then, Tomas said, we would have destroyed each other. We needed to grow apart before we could truly grow together. Their reunion was proof that the return of a path often comes only when both you and the dream are ready. Sagittarius, the universe is asking you now to trust. Trust that what reappears is not here to hurt you. Trust that you have the wisdom to discern whether this path is meant to be embraced. Trust that even if it doesn't look like what you once imagined, it carries the essence of what your soul has always longed for. The return of a path is not about repeating the past. It is about stepping into a future where you finally have the strength to walk it fully. Release the fear that it might vanish again. Release the doubt that you are undeserving. Instead, let your heart remain open, your eyes soft, and your spirit ready. What was once closed is now open. What was once lost is now returning. And this time, Sagittarius, you are ready to step through without hesitation. Gate 4, walking forward with courage and renewal. Sagittarius, the moment a closed path reopens before you, something profound happens inside your spirit. At first, you may feel disbelief, even hesitation. After all, you had already said your goodbyes. You had already built your life around the absence of this dream, this opportunity, this love. To see it return can feel surreal, even frightening. But remember, this is not a return to the past. It is an invitation to step into the future with a courage you did not have before. Walking this renewed path requires you to honor the lessons of the past without letting them hold you hostage. It means remembering how it felt when the door first closed, but not allowing that memory to paralyze you. It means acknowledging your fear of loss while choosing to walk forward anyway. This is the essence of courage, not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act even when fear whispers in your ear. I once guided a Sagittarius named Layla, who longed to start her own business. Years ago, she had tried and failed, losing money and confidence. The door seemed firmly shut, and she returned to a safer but unfulfilling job. Yet, years later, the idea returned, new partners appeared, funding opportunities surfaced, and suddenly the path was open again. At first, Layla hesitated, haunted by her earlier failure. But she chose courage. This time she walked the path with the lessons of her first attempt etched into her wisdom. The business thrived not because she erased her fear, but because she carried it with grace, refusing to let it stop her. The closed path had reappeared, and she had become the version of herself capable of succeeding. Sagittarius, courage also means trusting your expanded vision. When a path reemerges, it rarely looks exactly as it did before. You may be tempted to compare it to what once was, but doing so will only chain you to old illusions. Instead, meet the path as it is now with new possibilities, new forms, new blessings. Renewal means not clinging to how it should look, but embracing how it is unfolding. The universe does not recycle stale dreams. It refreshes them, breathing life into them in ways you could never have designed on your own. This is why renewal carries such freedom. When you choose to walk forward, you do so with less attachment to outcome and more reverence for the process. You know that nothing is guaranteed, but you also know that you are strong enough to handle whatever comes. That freedom allows you to walk with lightness, with joy, with curiosity, the very qualities that define your Sagittarian spirit. Another Sagittarius, Amir, once thought his chance at higher education had vanished forever. Circumstances forced him to drop out of college, and for years he carried the quiet ache of unfinished dreams. But decades later, he found himself enrolling again, not as a young student chasing validation, but as a mature man eager to learn. This time he approached education not with fear of failure, but with curiosity and gratitude. His courage to return, even after so much time, made the experience richer. The path had not only reappeared, it had deepened. Sagittarius, when the path you thought was closed reopens, walk it with gratitude. Thank the universe for protecting you when you weren't ready. Thank yourself for surviving the years in between. And thank the present moment for giving you another chance to live what your heart has always longed for. Courage is not about proving anything to anyone else. It is about proving to yourself that you are willing to live fully, even when uncertainty lingers. This is the moment Jupiter has been preparing you for. Your expansion is not behind you. It is ahead, in the re-emerging path that now beckons you forward. Take the steps, Sagittarius. Trust your fire. Trust your wisdom. Trust that this time you are walking not as who you once were, but as who you are now, wiser, stronger, freer. The horizon is calling, and the door that once shut is open again. Step through with courage, and watch how renewal transforms your life in ways more beautiful than you ever dared to dream. The horizon is yours again. Sagittarius, your story is not one of endings but of returns. What you thought was gone forever, what you mourned in silence, what you folded away in the corners of your heart, those dreams were never wasted. They were seeds waiting for their season. And now, as the stars align, those forgotten paths stir once more, inviting you to step forward with the wisdom and strength you did not yet have before. The closing of a path does not mean you were unworthy. It does not mean the dream was wrong. It only means the timing was incomplete. You have lived, you have learned, and you have gathered the resilience required to carry what once slipped from your hands. This is not a repeat of the past. It is the unfolding of a future that honors the lessons you have endured. Remember this, Sagittarius. The universe is not cruel. It is not here to tease you with false hope. It is here to expand you into the fullness of who you are meant to be. The paths that return are the ones your soul never stopped longing for, because they are woven into your destiny. So walk forward now, not with fear but with gratitude. Thank the closed doors that once protected you. Thank the winding roads that shaped you. And thank this reappearing path for proving that what is true for you will always find its way back. And if these words touch something inside you, if you felt the spark of recognition, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe, not as an obligation, but as a way of saying yes to your own returning paths, your own horizon, your own rebirth.